So I'm going to take you through the review process as it has been in the past, and how we envision it going forward, and how we've been working with it over the past 10 months. Next slide. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the standard map review process, which is the one that most of you are used to going through, and then talk about the pilot map review process, the rationale for those changes, and the expectations of the reviewers that we bring onto this, and then some possible changes to proposal, just some things to consider on the back end going forward. Next slide. So when you submit your map and it is deemed compliance, this is the standard process, by the way, that some of these steps will be exactly the same, but some of them will change. The map coordinator goes out to the community and asks for 2 reviewers. There's a caveat in here that the reviewers accept, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes eagerly, and the map package is sent to those reviewers. Those reviewers get 2 months to return that review. Sometimes falls within that time frame, sometimes does not. The reviews are submitted. They result in a review package of an annotated map, reviewed map components, and a recommendation that goes along with that. And there's 2 sets, one from each person. Next slide. The MC reviews those reviews and adds some map coordinator comments as needed. Recently, the USGS staff has been concatenating those 2 reviews into a one lump document with both reviewer comments included in there. So you may have comments that contradict each other as well. Where somebody says line 112 needs work, and somebody else says line 112 is the best thing I've ever read. So you'll have some conflicting comments within that. The reviews are then returned to the author for revision, depending on the reviewer recommendations, and the authors have 2 months to return that revised map package back to the USGS. Once that revised map package comes back in, as Jim stated before, that would be reviewed by somebody at the USGS, either the map coordinator or somebody on the staff, depending on who's got time, to ensure that the comments are thoroughly addressed by the author and that the map is ready for acceptance. That can go on for a couple of rounds, depending on the severity of those comments, or those comments that still need to be addressed. And then the map is accepted for publication. Next slide. So in this standard map review process, we've been collecting these statistics over the past 5, 6, 7 years, and we've got some stuff from the past from when Ken Tanaka was the map coordinator as well that we've implemented in here. We can see that the time from the time the map is deemed compliant to the time that the reviews are returned to the author is about 276 days on average. So you're looking at 9 months of time for that map to get from compliance into review, back from review, and return to you for your first revision. The compliant map submissions to when they're sent to the reviewers to the time the review package is returned. So just the time from when the reviewers get it to when you get it back is about 221 days. And then the total time from compliance to it being accepted for publication, not that it's being published yet, but that it's been accepted by us and is going to PSC for publication, is 486 days. And this is through the standard mapping review process. Next slide. So this pilot map review process has some changes to it, and we'll point those out. So the map comes in, you submit it as an author, we deem it that it's compliant. The map coordinator and the PGMP co-reviewer identify one potential outside reviewer to go along with the PGMP staff review. And that so far has been me, although it will probably rotate between myself and Sarah Black as time goes on. The outside reviewer is chosen for expertise in the body, expertise in the depositional environment, history of mapping in the area. Quite a few things go into it, but we try to choose somebody who's appropriate for that area. The reviewer accepts this map package, the map package is sent to them, and a review panel date is specified within a 1 to 3 month window, so 90 days. The reviewer is given, that much time up until the week of the review panel to prepare and provide an individual review, just like you would do on a NASA review panel. You do your reviews individually before you get to the panel, then you discuss them when you're on the panel. So these reviews still follow the same technical review guidelines from the PGM protocols document, which Alex will talk about next. Next slide. Sorry, I'm pushing the button to try and advance the slide. So the panel reviews are conducted to really concatenate these reviews into a single comprehensive and agreed upon review. So instead of getting two lumped together reviews that somebody at the staff puts together without knowing the intent behind the comments or whether or not the comments make sense, you'll be getting one now that comes back from a group discussion about the map. And so you're sure that all the comments that you're getting agree, and all your comments, as it says here, every comment contains an actionable item for the author to remedy those comments. So if we say, there's a problem with X, do Y. So we'll say, you have a problem here, do this. And maybe do this here, or do this throughout the map, or throughout the map components. So the first 2 days are spent doing, between the PGM staff member and the external reviewer. The third day, the map coordinator joins the panel, and typically I do it. Doesn't matter if it's me or the other person or the PGM staff or the other person who presents it. But there is a presenting of the panel findings, and the map coordinator interjects their additional comments, things that they feel we missed or that are problematic in nature that need to be addressed as well into the review. And so at the end of the third day, we have a complete review agreed upon. And hopefully properly formed sentences as well. The reviews and recommendations are then passed out of the panel on the MC. The map coordinator goes through it one more time, clarifies language if there's anything that's ambiguous. They will be corrected, and then just checks for consistency in the review as well. The authors are sent that digital file, and they have 2 months again to return a revised map package. You'll only be getting 2 documents. One Word document with all the comments in it, and then an annotated PDF map that shows a location and then has a comment built into it with a sticky note that has some of the language in there, but most of the language will be borne out in the comments that are still in the Word document. So it'll say comment 1, and that will tie back to the Word document and have your comment in there as well. Next slide. And then after that, it's the same thing. Your revised map package will come in. It'll be reviewed. If it's found to be ready for acceptance, we'll accept it. If not, we'll go a couple of rounds back and forth to fix the problems that still do exist. And then after that, your map will be accepted for publication. And again, go into the PSC process and be published at some point down the road. So you can go ahead and advance. So for the pilot map review, we've done 4 so far. We have a 5th one coming up next week. But so far, the compliance, the time from it being deemed compliant to you getting your map back is the mean value is 65 days. The low is 30, the high is 104 right now. So we're not pushing much over that 3-month threshold. The track times between the map packages sent to reviewers and the reviewer package returned is 51 days. So typically we're able to schedule these panels, get the review done within that 2-month period, which is marked improvement over what it used to be, which I think was 65 days to 270 days and 51 days to 240 days. And then the track times between submission to acceptance, we don't know yet because none of these have been returned from revision. And so a portion of that time is a chunk of revision that we don't have control over. Next slide. So the rationale for this new process is to reduce the amount of time it takes to produce a thorough and internally consistent map review to the author in a timely manner. That's kind of the main focus of this, is to take that time and give it back to you for your proposal. So you're not losing now 9 months of time in the review process. Provide the community with requested map review training in a one-on-one environment. So we will bring in people external to the USGS, sometimes internal, just depends on how we're doing it. But we'll bring somebody in, and you'll have you'll have 3 days of sitting with us. And during that time, while we're doing the map review, it's also fair game to ask some questions about the process and what we're doing, why we're saying the things we're saying, why we're doing it the way that we're doing it. And that way you're getting a little bit of training on top of this, but it will be a good training exercise for you to do it independently, form your own opinion about the map, and then come in and have a discussion about that. Will help out quite a bit. Provide peer reviews and map coordinator review in one package to allow all changes to be addressed in the first revision. So you're not getting a series of reviews. In the past, it has been sometimes you get the peer review, you'll turn it back in after revision, and the map coordinator will give their review, and you'll have more revisions to do. This way, you're getting all three perspectives at the same time. So it may seem like a larger package, but you should only have to do it once, only one revision. And we provide the actionable requests for the author to make to satisfy the review comments. So we give you a heads up. We're not just giving you a comment and then you have to figure out how to fix it. We're trying to help you get to a point where if you do these things, this should address this comment. Next slide. So our expectations for the reviewer is that the reviewer will perform an independent, thorough, and thoughtful review of the map, and the map components following the technical review guidelines presented in the PGM protocols document. That the reviewer will provide their review to the PGMP staff co-reviewer prior to the review panel, and so that either that week before or the day before, it doesn't matter, but just giving it to us prior to that allows us to see the number of reviews or the number of comments that we have to get through in those first 2 days and making sure that we can schedule things out appropriately. The reviewer will be available and engaged for all of the scheduled 3-day panel review, either in person in Flagstaff or over digital media. So far, we've done 3 in person and 1 over digital media since COVID crisis. So we're able to do both, and I think next week's is over digital media as well, it's not in person. And the reviewer will respect the confidentiality of the author and their fellow reviewers. The reviewer will not discuss specific details of the review with the author or others after the completion of the review unless instructed by the map coordinator, PGM staff, co-reviewer to do so. So we would like to have the author contact the map coordinator, and at that point, if need be, we can have a discussion as a group, and if they want to, if the co-reviewer wants to contact the author, then they would have the permission to do so at this time. But at this point, the reviewer is anonymous. So we would prefer that you don't go out talking about the map that you just reviewed. And the next slide. There's a couple of things to consider. Only requesting for a single map review over the life of the map project, as you're proposing. Travel to Flagstaff either in addition to or with a planned trip to the Mercator Lab for a review. So if you get pinged about a review and you're willing to do it, and we're at a point where you can come to Flagstaff and visit, you may want to bundle that in with something else to do at the Mercator Lab as well, not just come in for the map review. If you can, and you're confident in the fact that your map will be compliant and you know where it is, you know when it will be in, contacting the map coordinator and scheduling your review in advance would be very helpful and allow us to turn around your map that much faster. So if that's the case, you need to be prepared to handle any compliance issues in a swift manner, because we can't, if we schedule something out, we have somebody else on the hook as well to do the review. We prefer that you're able to handle any of your compliance issues when they do come up. And then the last thing would be just don't panic. This process is thorough, and you may get more comments back than you're used to, but it would be to your benefit. It is to your benefit just because you'll be able to handle those in the first revision. There shouldn't be much linger. Next slide. Any questions? Dave Crown asks, how does the map review process work when there are USGS map authors? I think the way that we're handling it right now, that if I am an author or Jim is an author, we will send it out for third-party review. If it is just a USGS internal author, I can still do the review, or Sarah can do the review when she's up to speed, and the external law for the other one. I think that my coworkers who have experience with me reviewing their stuff would say that I'm going to put this lightly, as fair as I am with people outside the building as well. If not, maybe just a slight bit harder on them. But it's certainly something that we can discuss if the community feels that that's not fair.